People, deluded. I hope you're all well and safe this morning, but we might as well speak about transfer news or speculation in regards to Arsenal. Now, admittedly, folks, there's not that much to speak about, so we're not going to be here long. First and foremost, we know this week it looked like to be a decisive week for formally completing the move for Saliba. I know you've seen him pictured in America with, well, not directly with Lacazette, but watching the game with Lacazette, Maitland-Niles and a bunch of other people. So maybe the I's have been dotted, and the T's have been crossed in Saliba's front. But you did expect an announcement this week. While there's been no official announcement via Real Madrid or Arsenal, you've seen allegedly Dani Ceballos. Even if you look at David Ornstein, he's confirmed what we've known. We've reached an agreement in regards to bringing him to the club on a loan basis. So yeah, for me, I'm happy with the signing of Dani Ceballos. Would have liked a permanent option, of course, because on one hand, it's good for Real Madrid because if he right now short term he gets loans, he gets a run of games, or you'd assume he's going to get a run of games and be central figure in Unai Emery's side. But they also get someone who could potentially return next season, 23 years of age, got his confidence back, renewed belief, ready to tackle breaking into the Real Madrid starting lineup. If none of that, if he plays at Arsenal significantly, you'd imagine his value would rise. So that could, if they decide to sell him permanently, let's just say he has a blistering season and he wins. Of course, it's extreme people, but let's just say Real Madrid loaned him out. He went and won PFA in the Premier League. Real Madrid are going to be entitled to get a nice little banker in it. And you imagine they could bring in what? You'd probably rate him now about 40-50 million pounds. If he won the PFA, that's about 60 plus. And if they didn't fit, I'm not saying he's going to and he's going to dominate the thing. I'm just simply giving an example. If he goes and does that now, and they decide, oh, we don't actually want him in our team, they're getting 60 million for a player that's not been there for a year. So do you get it, people? So maybe we could have had a buy clause. Apparently, if I scroll down. Apparently, Fabrizio Romano has said that we're ready. We accepted the loan spell, but apparently Perez has promised Arsenal will speak in June next year about the situation of Ceballos and possibly signing him permanently. Now, for me, that's a bit. I don't know how true that is, but that's naive. I mean, that's a promise. Promises are not contractual agreements. Do you get it, people? Whether it's an obligation to buy or an agreed fee, it's not an They don't have to obligate that. They can say he simply said they'll promise to speak allegedly. So that could a speaking can be to sit down in a room and say no, you can't get him permanently. So we probably were just desperate to get him over the line and get some creativity into the side. I know Emre's described him as an 8 and a 10. He'll use him as such. We've got a lot of midfield options, particularly the young ones. I'm not necessarily referring to El Nene. So we'll see what happens in that regard. But in terms of what he brings to the table, 8 or 10, he'll bring creativity, he'll bring dribbling. He's obviously got a free kick in him, and he's got that trait of being a maverick. He's obviously, away from all of that, he's got a point to prove, and Arsenal can give him that platform. Apparently, he wants to play 40 times, and Emery's assured him of that. So will that be 30 times in the Premier League, the Europa League and Cup competitions? What does that mean for, let's just say, because he said 8 and 10, what does that mean for Emil Smith-Rowe, who can play in them roles, as well as the wings, who was given a new squad number this season? What does that mean for Joe Willock, who you think is him and Nelson probably the ones to get some football early on? What does that mean for Nelson? What does that mean for Guendouzi? Obviously, you've got Xhaka, Torreira. We've got a lot of midfield options, people, really and truly. Together with Ceballos. This is for another vid, but I've thought about 6 options excluding El Nene for midfield. Obviously that's good, but at the end of the day, only 3 midfielders can play, depending on his formation, because we might go 4-4-2 like you've seen at times, and it's a pivot. In fact, typically Emery goes with a pivot. So yeah, there's the free roll of sorts, but it's a pivot. So we'll see in regards to what happens with the midfield options. It is what it is, man. If Emery first and foremost wants the player, wants to give him a platform to develop himself and prove any doubters wrong, then why not, man, to be fair with you. Moving on from that, I'm happy with Ceballos' thingy. Apparently Emery convinced Ceballos and his family about the move, so good on Emery, man, because a lot of people say he hasn't got the pool and all of these sort of things. Interesting news in regards to Koscielny is that the Rennes president went on to say, we met him twice last year when we heard about the possibility of a departure in early June. We spoke with Arsenal to see if it was true because we could be interested. See, and there was another bit, people, in which he went on to say, yeah, there it is, people, one sec. In mid-June, Arsenal told us that he wanted to extend and he was untransferable. Since then, we've not had any exchange with the player. We have a great respect for other clubs. We can't trade with a player until his club agrees. What came out this weekend is false. So the alleged reports in regards to Rennes agreeing personal terms based on what the president said, we assume is false. We have heard Koscielny's had talks and whatnot with Rennes, with with Rennes, with what's the other team, Bordeaux, with just about this club and that club. So we'll never truly know what has been said or what was said in Koscielny's case, but I don't think everybody's hands are clean. I think Koscielny might first and foremost, Koscielny, I get it. If he wants to force a move away and all of these things, he's got to do what he's got to do, but there's a way about it. If he was sold dreams by the club or told something and we've retracted them, fair enough, but at the end of the day, you didn't go on tour. You haven't conducted yourself in an acceptable manner. And for me, Koscielny, we should wipe our hands of him. And not that he's ever been a legend or anything, but the fan favourite sort of thing. I know people, I'm not saying I'll forget him, but he should be wiped clean of this club. There's a way of behaving, man. Wanting to leave is not the issue, but not going on tour is absolutely disgraceful. And me personally, I don't believe in forgiveness with Koscielny. It is what it is in that regards. But on the other hand, if clubs were talking to him in early June, maybe the club told him we can let you go, Koscielny, you can go if you want, and he's explored his options. Maybe the club did offer him an extension. Maybe Koscielny initially wanted that and then changed. We'll never know what was said, who was right and who was wrong. I can only deal with the facts and that Koscielny doesn't want to be here. Arsenal need to move forward as a football club. We will not. I don't condone, regardless of him being 34, the injury issues and not having a future here. I don't condone letting him go for free because a club wants him. From a business point of view, it's poor business. Yes, he's not going to command a mad fee. Yes, we only paid a couple of million from him, but it's the principle. Why should we let him go for free? Like, someone tell me why you should let him go for free. It don't make sense. Nobody's giving us players for free. If they want Koscielny for free, then if we're not going to get a significant transfer fund or a fee or a decent fee, then Arsenal need to be creative and say, listen, we need first options because Rennes have been developing some good players. We need first refusal or first options on any of your promising young players. Or we need to do a thing where if a club bids an acceptable amount and we match it, we can talk to the player. We need to be doing something in that regards. I don't believe Koscielny should go for free. Moving on to the Kieran Tierney front, again, we'll never know. 1 minute we've bidded a third time, then we actually haven't. I can't keep up just as an honest fan. I don't know where it's at. Apparently, the player wants to make the move, but the club, Arsenal, are looking at alternatives because the move has stalled in regards to him. We can only assume that's a lack of progress. You heard allegedly Arsenal were offering a decent fee, but it was heavily dependent on add-ons and not a lot of guaranteed upfront money for Celtic, which Celtic are within their rights to demand. So we're at loggerheads. Apparently, we've started looking at other targets. How true is that? I don't know, because you've got to be you never know people, because clubs do smart things. Clubs do little things where they filter things to the media and say they're not interested, and we'll never know. We could be getting this Kieran Tierney deal over the line. This is just a smokescreen or whatnot. This news might be legit. Maybe something actually has broken down. Maybe there is an issue. We'll never know the specific reasons, but not to get him signed will be a bitter pill to swallow. I really want Kieran Tierney at this club. If we can't sign him and another left back doesn't come into the club, then there's going to be serious problems, because I don't think we can go into the next season with our existing centre half and left back options and realistically expect to do anything serious. Yes, these current crop of players were here and we only missed out on Champions League by a point, and we obviously messed up the Europa League final. But on the other hand, these are telling signs. I've said the same examples enough times, the same quick fire goals, the same lack of clean sheets, the same catalogue and sequences of defensive errors that 9 times out of 10 leads to a goal we've conceded. There's many things, man. So I believe, obviously, I would love a winger. The Everton Suarez rumours, it keeps flip-flopping. We'll never actually know in regards to that. Of course, I'd love a winger, but first and foremost, I believe the defence needs to get set up. So, yeah. At least this week, if we can confirm the signings of Ceballos and Saliba, obviously one's on loan and one won't be here next season, then it is what it is. And on the Saliba front, I like what I'm seeing about him, man. I think if he gets another year under his belt in France, he could come to Arsenal a more confident player. Because from what I read about him, I'm going to obviously try and bring scouting reports for you lot next season, but He's a football nerd. He's very much on football. I like the way he talks about improving. He says, at my age, I've got to improve everything, perfect everything, consistently improve. I think he'll fit in well as well. Obviously, it's completely irrelevant, but he was talking about like things he likes to do off the field and his music, and he said he listens to Migos now. Obviously, it's a bit silly, people, but I think he'll tie in well with obviously Aubameyang and Lacazette, who are very edgy and whatnot, and probably listen to the Migos and that. You've got Iwobi, of course. You've got French speakers. I think he'll join a good, assuming everybody's here, he'll join a good base of players and whatnot. Now, again, the Zaha thing, who knows, man? Apparently, there's optimism. But Zaha is a French speaker as well. Again, I'm talking about two players that are not at the club. But if Zaha was here in theory, then it would help him adapt more. Do you get it, people? It is what it is, man. I mean, the closer we get to the end of the transfer window, the more kind of concerned I get, because at the end of the day, players have not left. We haven't got any players in, regardless of me saying this is going to be done and that's going to be done. It is what it is. It is essentially it is what it is, man. I mean, I hope we're looking at alternatives for Kieran Tierney. Like I said, I don't necessarily want plan C's and D's, but you've got to look at them. It is what it is, man. Who knows if Zidane really fancies Ceballos as well, because let's just say Madrid say they don't want to sign it, they don't want to keep him next season, and he has a good season for Arsenal, and they say Arsenal are open to buy it, we can buy him. But let's just say his form is decent. That's going to start a bidding war, and like you've seen before, yes, we could probably convince him, he might feel comfortable here and whatnot, but when things get into a bidding war, you never know what a player truly thinks. But on that note, I've got nothing more to add, so I'm going to get out of here. People, thank you for watching. DG.